Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw. This is Count Out. That's right. It's the weekly, usually weekly, like 3 times a month, when we show where we count down stuff in the world of wrestling.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like our old show 10 for the win, but a lot longer because it's in podcast form.
Yeah, it's not scripted.
Anybody in the comments who says, well, why can't you do this quicker? It's because we're a podcast.
Yeah.
We're not 10 for the win anymore.
No, we don't do videos. We do
Yet.
podcasts.
Yet.
No, ever.
Yet.
Never.
Anyways. So, yes. It's
Mania season.
WrestleMania season. Larson.
Tomorrow we got a Fastlane reaction stream starting about 3:15 Pacific time, 6:15 Eastern, 11:15 Brexit, and all equivalent time zones around the world.
Yeah.
But once Fastlane's done with, full speed ahead on the road to WrestleMania.
Then we're truly on the road to WrestleMania.
Yeah, you're about a month away from WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So with Mania season upon us, let's talk about Mania, specifically Bad Mania.
Okay. So here we go. The 10 worst Bad Mania moments.
Yeah, something like that.
Number 10.
10.
The streak comes to an end. Oh.
I mean, like, depending on one's perspective, I guess this could be seen as a good moment if you were not a Taker fan, but you loved yourself some Brock.
No, look, this is actually this can actually be a great moment, or it could be a worse moment. Like you said, depending on your perspective. And I actually think that regardless of your perspective, it can still be viewed both ways.
Yeah,
I mean, if you think about it,
in fact,
the Undertaker streak was this was a monumental occasion. They made a big deal, and it really was a big deal that Undertaker had been booked to win every single time he was at WrestleMania from the beginning of his career. And who'd have thought he'd have a career that lasted as long as it did, and evidently might still be lasting.
Yeah, and most people don't wrestle for 127 years.
Correct. And so at year 21? 21?
Yeah, 21. After 21 straight wins, I believe.
After 21 straight wins, they finally had somebody beat The Undertaker, and it was a jaw-dropping moment. And that person, of course, was Brock Lesnar.
I think history would look far more favorably on this moment had they booked the resulting storyline correctly. The idea, in short, is Brock beats Taker's streak, therefore he absorbs the power of Taker's streak. So whoever ends up beating Brock takes Taker's streak and is therefore like the most powerful individual in all of WWE.
Yeah.
That man was going to be Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
However, they completely bungled that whole situation.
This was probably the most significant torch passing moment since Warrior Hogan. And yeah, afterwards, we did get a Brock Lesnar. I mean, they really did capitalize on the Brock Lesnar, having taken the streak thing from The Undertaker.
Yeah.
However, it also led to them really not being able to effectively capitalize on it. That's why you could see this as being a bit wasted. You could see this as a big,
totally
massive wasted moment.
Completely wasted, because now, with a few years, with this few years behind us, the general idea of why they had Brock beat the streak never really came to fruition. So it was just more of a shock moment, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. But it was, heck of a shocking moment.
I was at your old house. No, your current house. Sitting there.
What year was this? 2014?
It was 30. So 2014.
2014? Yeah, it would have been at the new house. Yeah, it would have been at the new house.
And I was eating from a bag of Kettle brand salt and pepper potato chips. And probably having an orange Rockstar hydration recovery. I was flabbergasted.
I mean, it's still, I don't know. Like, it'll be interesting how they see the entire, the 5 years since then, or, whatever, 4 years since.
It'll be 5. It'll be
5 years since then. It'll be interesting to see, because Seth Rollins is probably going to beat Brock Lesnar. And we'll see if, number one, if the WWE treats that as any sort of big torch passing moment, because this is going to be really the first time that...
It's pretty much the first time Brock has lost clean, apart from Goldberg, since then.
Yeah, but I mean, even in the case of Goldberg, it was, he was thrown off his game. Like, nobody saw it coming. It was a quick spear jackhammer thing. This is going to be the first time when we get, probably, I'm speculating here, and it feels like it's going to be this, an actual full-length wrestling match where the opponent to Brock Lesnar actually beats him in a way that is convincing and
satisfying
and
leaves no question
clean
about who the victor is. I mean, at SummerSlam, you had Braun out there distracting Brock and all that stuff.
It was a mess.
It was all,
It was a mess.
They were trying to pull a magic trick on us, essentially.
So for all that time,
diversion.
For all that time, it was going to be Roman, and then now for it to be sort of all of a sudden, it's going to be Seth Rollins. Yeah, that sort of makes like the last 5 years kind of a waste.
Yep.
So hard to think of that time as sort
In
of
hindsight, bad moment.
as yeah, exactly. But the moment itself was actually kind of cool.
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, that's why it's at number 10
Yeah.
because it's the least worst moment.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyways,
With one being the worst.
worst moment.
Yes,
Worst,
exactly.
baddest worst moment. Number 9.
9.
The Rock buries the
dear.
Wyatts.
Oh dear.
Ooh, this was a stinker of a moment.
So let's precede the 8-second match that he had against Eric Rowan with what The Rock did beforehand. He came out, got a flamethrower.
Even hold on,
lit his
preceding
name on
this,
fire.
because you're about to describe a very cool moment. Preceding that, wasn't it like we heard afterwards, anyways, that The Rock wanted to work with the Wyatts?
Yeah, he requested to work with the Wyatts because he really liked them.
Because he really liked them. So continue, please.
Oh, so yeah, he comes out, flamethrower, his name off towards the edge of the stage, huge metal letters, yet still flammable, lights him on fire with a flamethrower, walks down the ring, drops a very extended promo, as Rock is often wont to do. Out comes Wyatt's. Bray at the time was injured, but this is all during the time when, like this was just a couple months before that, where he's standing across from Triple H in the ring and touches the belt, and the crowd goes crazy. And you're like, oh, yeah.
Awesome.
The crowd
Main
behind
event
Bray,
players.
let's do something cool with Bray. Unfortunately, he was hurt for this Mania, so he really couldn't do much.
We thought that maybe the Wyatt family would take like the WWE hostage or something like that. Like, oh, it's going to be them.
Do
They're going to
something
be the
interesting.
ones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Instead, they come out.
Wait, what did you eat for lunch?
I said a sandwich.
I just got a whiff of salami.
No, I did have some hot peppers. Maybe that's what it is.
Could be.
Oh, mustard. It was a garlic mustard aioli. Oh, it's so good, too.
I swear, do you literally just eat in order to come in here and get under my skin?
Well, it's not my intention, but if that's a side effect, I'm not going to mind it too much.
Continue, please.
So he comes to the ring, or he's in the ring. Wyatt's down there. There's some sort of challenge issued. Rock has tearaway pants. Rip. He has his ring gear on underneath.
Which was actually a cool moment.
That was funny. He has a match with Rowan. I believe it's bell rings, Rock bottom, pinned, 8 seconds, Rock wins. Of course, Wyatt family gets in and starts beating up on him. So this time it's Bray, it's Rowan, it's Harper, and it's Strowman.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Outruns John Cena to help to make the save. They thwart off the entire Wyatt family together. Rock bottoms for basically everybody. I believe at this time Cena was just returning from injury too. It was lame. Completely buried the Wyatt family in a matter of about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah, it was really, really bad. Yeah. 33, that was...
This is 32. This is one where Roman Triple H main event. That was
This was a really bad Mania.
It's not a good Mania.
From front, yeah.
The highlight of this Mania for Steve is Baron Corbin winning the Andre Battle Royal. The women's match. The women's match was really good.
What was the women's match?
It was a triple threat. It's where they unveiled the women's title and ditched the Divas title.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good.
It was Becky, Charlotte, and Sasha, I believe.
All right. Yeah, that was a stinker.
A good match.
That was a stinker Mania, though.
The overall Mania was not good.
Yeah. So, The Rock burying the Wyatts. Yeah, boy, Wyatts could have been something big.
Oh, yeah.
I do appreciate that sentiment, though. Oh, man, I see so much money in these guys. I think they're great. Let me go out there and squash one of them.
Well, I imagine the situation where Vince went to The Rock and say, "Hey, Rock, we want you to do this. You can cut a promo, limited physicality, because I know you got insurance issues with your movie career.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
So do something really brief." And The Rock probably thought, "Okay, well, I mean, I really like the Wyatts are really good. Wouldn't mind giving them a little bit of a spotlight, opposite me." And gets there, and this is what they have for him. And he's probably just like, all right, that's what's going to happen.
That's what you got. That's what you got.
I'm sure it wasn't like he requested specifically, I like the Wyatts. I want to bury them today.
Yeah.
It was probably more a situation where it's like, well, they're not doing anything. Let's do something with them.
But even verbally, I don't recall him letting them get much in.
Well, of course, it's The Rock, man.
All right, moving on. Number 8.
8.
Number 8. The Warrior squashes Triple H. The hot, young, up-and-coming Triple H, of course.
Now,
even back then, you could tell he would be running the company in a mere 15 years.
Look at that head of hair. Now, I think when they kind of present the timeline for everything, this is in response to the curtain call at MSG. However, this occurred before that.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like
the
way they present the timeline, This is supposed to happen during the time where Triple H is being punished.
I always thought I would have the perception. This could have been one of the things where I just projected it. I always had the perception rather that this was part of his punishment. Mm-hmm. Apparently not.
No.
Apparently that's not the case.
No, he lost to Warrior in less than 2 minutes. Warrior completely no-sold the pedigree.
Yeah.
I don't know why they brought the Warrior back. He was garbage.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting.
I mean, I don't understand it. It's not like anybody really cared about him at that point. I don't think. I could be completely wrong. It was 1996.
Yeah. So no, this is we got some quotes here because the rise and fall of the Ultimate Warrior. I still have that on DVD.
Oh, the self-destruction.
I'm sorry, the self-destruction. But it's not available on the network, right? Yeah, because they wanted to buddy up to the Warrior before he died, and
pulled that. Yeah.
And so they pulled that, but there are some quotes here on this Uprocks article from 2016. This is interesting, though. It says here on May 19th, 1996, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H held the curtain call.
MSG, yeah.
It was bad. Vince McMahon saw it as bad for business, also bad for Triple H. His future son-in-law would have had to reap the aftermath of the house show incident. Michaels was the champ, and Hall and Nash were under contract with WCW. Triple H's punishment was being relegated to lower card matches and significant feuds. Before that, however, he was to job in a squash match at WrestleMania against the returning Warrior. Even they got it wrong.
No. I think before that, before the curtain call. That's how I read it.
Okay. You can kind of read it both ways, though. That they're saying that this is part of the punishment.
You could.
But yeah, this was before that. But there's some great quotes in here. Because I asked you facetiously during the while we were watching, we went back and watched all 2 minutes of the match and 10 minutes of entrances. Yeah. I said, "Do you think Warrior was a dick to Triple H backstage?" And you said yes. And sure enough, when you look back at the DVD, there's a quote here. Or no, let's see here.
Yeah, it's from the DVD. Triple H says he was like in the most unprofessional working situation he's ever had.
Let's see here.
And
okay,
yeah. That bit where he goes in and talks to Warrior, try to lay out the match beforehand. He has Gerald Briscoe next to him, and the Warrior more or less just blows him off.
Yeah, they set up the quote because they had a video here, but now the video's not available anymore. Mm-hmm. So there's not the actual quote from Triple H. I wish we had that, but yeah, and then the Warrior shot back with some typically Warrior comments. And then, of course, during the time when they were trying to repair their relationship with the Ultimate Warrior.
Triple H, who was, at the fore. He was taking the lead in that.
Yeah. And apparently Triple H was the one, according to Dana Warrior on the Talk is Jericho podcast.
Yeah, extend the olive branch, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's hilarious. Like you'll never see again. You've never seen before. You'll never see again a pedigree be so energetically no sold.
I mean,
it's like it gave him power.
Well, Warrior was on the mat for less than a second.
Mm-hmm.
Impact made on pedigree. He's instantly up.
Yeah.
Instantly.
Yeah.
And it's just it's. I mean, it's a good thing Triple H had himself a pretty decent career following that. Otherwise, he would have said that moment buried Triple H.
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly,
he did all right for himself.
What was it like? When do people consider I guess the end of his punishment was really the beginning of DX when they let him team with Shawn Michaels.
Mm-hmm. More than a year later.
So it was May to when did DX start?
Or the summer.
Yeah. My goodness gracious! But it is kind of funny because even before then, like I don't know what the point of. I mean, I don't know. I guess they just sort of had to let Warrior do what he wanted to do.
I guess so.
How many times was it? It was after he won the title, it was SummerSlam.
The following SummerSlam 91, where he more or less held Vince hostage for more money.
Right. And then Vince brought him back after that.
Yeah.
And then he was fired again or whatever.
I think they brought him back one more time after that. And then this one.
Oh, my gosh. That is a wildly entertaining DVD, by the way.
It is.
The Self-Destruction Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
Because nobody gives an F in that DVD. Nobody. They're clowning him the entire time. And it's hilarious because he seemed like a crap person. So I mean, come on, man. You can go back and see what he said. He said stuff.
He said some terrible things.
He did.
Really terrible things.
Give me a break. Anyways, moving on. Oh, great. Speaking of crap people. Number 7.
Donald
Trump.
Trump was at WrestleMania. Hell, he's in the WWE Hall of Fame. What a stain on WWE's legacy.
Oh, man.
So for those of you who don't know, there was some Battle of the Billionaires crap. I doubt Vince was even a billionaire at that point,
For
legitimately.
those of you who don't know, our dirty California liberal elites.
Yeah. So they set up this really like poorly put together angle where Trump was like, "Hey, Vince, give the people what they want," which I guess was money. So he started raining hundreds down from the audience. This was on an episode of Raw.
Guarantee they weren't his.
No, they're probably Vince's. And so that led to a challenge. A match was made, a hair versus hair match. But rather than Vince and Donald going at it, they each pick a proxy. Vince chose Umaga, and then Trump chose Bob Lashley.
Wise choice. Actually, that was a wise choice.
Yeah, it worked out in the end.
Assuming he made it.
Yeah, which he didn't. Stone Cold was special guest ref.
Yeah.
Just watch Trump sell the stunner.
Yeah.
Watch him try to deliver a clothesline to Vince and get on and try to punch him.
Looked like he was looked like he was trying to mount him.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just just no.
Well, yeah, I mean, now
bad.
of course, now in hindsight, it's absolutely terrible. Back then, though, it helped drive that WrestleMania to like literally the
that's
highest
back in the days
grossing.
when The Apprentice was still rising high.
Yeah,
it was hot stuff.
He was harmless. He was fairly. Oh, I mean, to the nation, he
The
was
public
harmless.
perception.
Yeah.
Was maybe that.
Yeah.
He had some good PR people working for him, I guess, or something.
Well, he had a lot of NDAs.
Yes.
He had a lot of non-disclosure. Like everything he did probably would
involved
come with
in
an NDA.
making everybody else sign an NDA.
And then once he became president, he tried to have his staff sign NDAs, and that's not even legal.
No, it's not. It's a Presidential Records Act. That's not legal. You can't do that, man.
Oh, man.
You think he knew that, though? No.
So go ahead, everybody. Light up our comments. That's totally fine. We stopped caring a long time ago. Number 6.
6.
Playboy pillow fight.
Why is that picture sideways, Steve?
Because it's literally the only picture we have that's out there. We could have screen capped something from the network, but for whatever reason, you didn't want to give me 3 minutes to do that. So
if you would have asked, I would.
This is
That
what we're
was
stuck
funny
with.
just to put it sideways.
Yeah, it was pretty funny just to put it sideways and pixelated. So, yeah, and on top of that, this probably helps us from getting demonetized.
Yeah, it could.
Oh, the fact that we have the word Trump might do it also.
That's true.
So, yeah, what year was this?
This was WrestleMania 22, so the year before the Trump one.
There was this period of time where WWE's women's division was just treated like absolute garbage. And it was I mean, there were periods between like 87 and, the Divas Revolution where they were doing some good stuff. There were some time. There were some really, really great competitors. Molly Holly, Victoria.
Jazz was in there. Trish
Jazz,
Stratus and Lita, of course.
Jacqueline.
Jacqueline, yeah.
She's really great. Trish Stratus, Lita.
Beth Phoenix.
Oh, it's just terrific. Natalia even, she goes back a ways. So, like, there was a period. But then there was a lot of chunks of time when it was just trash.
Yeah.
And this sort of Candice Michelle era, her and then
Christy Hemme.
Christy Hemme,
sorry.
And then, there's a bunch of others. And then they were just going for sort of ready for Playboy. And then the appropriately titled Playboy pillow fight.
So this was between Tori Wilson and Candice Michelle.
Future Hall of Famer Tori Wilson.
I believe they both appeared in Playboy. That's what they made it seem like.
Yes. Yeah.
On commentary there.
Let me Google that.
Oh, sure, if you want to.
Let me find out if.
Just make sure you hold your phone, like, that way we won't get, or maybe guarantee we won't get demonetized. Hopefully.
Okay, so I didn't even have to do a Google image search to verify. Because the first article here that pops up is from 2011. A-Rod in sleeper hold of ex-Playboy centerfold and model Tori Wilson. So I was able to verify.
There we go.
Without corrupting these virgin eyes.
Yeah, you
right
don't want to
here,
do that,
Larson.
man, or risk tilting your phone the wrong way and having
demonetized, channel deleted.
I know.
Yeah.
So, as you mentioned, this period even date back to the Attitude Era. WWE had a bunch of salacious women's matches, mud wrestling, bikini, bra and panty type deals.
Which Paige considers these days the fault of the fans.
Well, they didn't book it. And they set up a bed in the ring. Actually, some of the spots looked like it could have been fun.
Looked like a comfy bed.
Tori Wilson did a back body drop onto the bed on Candice.
And sold it big time.
And Candice sold it huge.
Yeah.
But it's a bed. It looked like it'd been fun.
You know the problem with this? You know what they should have done? It would have been way better because I really enjoyed when they had Molly Holly, who is a great comedian in the ring and outside the ring. if they would have done something with a performer who understood comedy a bit better, like I think Tori Wilson's probably pretty savvy. I think she probably actually could have played it pretty good. Although she was the face here and Candice Michelle was the heel, I guess. If Molly Holly was somehow involved in this match in some way, taking on Candice Michelle, for example, I think that her in-ring experience could have probably brought a lot of more creativity and cleverness to this match. But instead they had two competitors who probably weren't really known for their wrestling acumen in the first place.
No.
But like you said, this actually could have been pretty clever.
Contrast this with, we watched this earlier today too, the blindfold match from WrestleMania 7.
Right, yeah.
With lesser competitors, that could have been an absolute train wreck.
Yeah,
and because it's Jake Roberts who just exudes charisma, and the crowd was fully behind him.
Yeah.
And Rick Martel, who again knew how to comport himself out there as a professional wrestler. It was not a good idea.
Yeah.
But those guys probably executed just about as well as anybody could have.
Right, yeah, totally.
What's interesting about this is the crowd was 100% not into it. I mean, it's not like there was like a low level default of boo throughout the entire duration of this short match.
Yeah. It kind of makes you wonder how the women's division would have been different had there been a thing like Twitter. I mean, honestly, like for as much of a cesspool as social media can be, it can, and we've seen it can affect change in certain degrees.
Yeah, as a means to mobilize.
And communicate wants and desires and in various products, like what people want. It can be effective in that manner. And I mean, I think that was sort of the counter to what Paige was saying. Paige said, fans didn't mobilize back then the way they do now. And so that's why she put it on the fans, which I still think is not a good take. But the crowd actually did, for something that was, salacious, and the Attitude Era gave plenty of, plenty of ammunition for fans to hoot and holler. It was obvious they were over it, and there didn't seem to be a lot more money to be made in this kind of booking. And I mean, granted, it was a little while until they really did something about it, but still,
it was but 10 years.
Yeah, not a little while. Yeah, but I mean, even after that, I mean, what year was this? This was.
Well, this 22, so it would have been, let me do some math real quick.
2007?
2006.
2006? Okay. I mean, around 2010. Like, when did Beth Phoenix come around?
This is shortly after this, I think.
Yeah. So, like, the building blocks started to happen.
2010, 2011, 2012, when you got AJ Lee.
Right, exactly.
Paige.
Yeah.
I know.
So it wasn't that far off. I mean, the crowd crapped on it. It was a crap fight, and even if you're doing something like this, there could have been some amount of
some cleverness or humor involved with it with the right competitors. However, wasn't the case.
Big clunk over match. It wasn't very long though. So
I guess that's an upside.
And on top of that, he had a lot more of like Lawler's, backwards ass commentary. Moving on, number 5. Bray Wyatt's powers, man.
Powers.
Look, if you're watching this on YouTube and not listening to this, or if you're listening to this, I can tell you what we're seeing. It's a still from Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton at the WrestleMania we went to.
33.
Right? Yeah. And there is, of course, the projection on the mat.
Is that the flies?
I don't know. Randy Orton staring at it. He's like, I don't even know what's supposed to be happening right now.
They're too large. You can't probably tell what they are just on the mat there.
At home we can, because we had the overhead.
When we were there live, we couldn't unless we looked at the monitors.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And then there was flies and bugs and other stuff that. So leading up to this, Bray Wyatt was saying, "I got demonic powers, man. I got Satan powers."
Yeah.
And
he was WWE champion.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
But more so, I think having satanic powers exists above titles.
Well, so this was before all that. Wyatt and Orton were on the same page. Orton was sort of battling for top child to Bray Wyatt.
To be Wyatt's Riker. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And he won the Rumble, said, "I'm not going to face you." More or less gave up a spot. There was a feud between him and AJ, and then Luke Harper was involved in all that too.
Yeah.
Ultimately, Randy Orton decided he's going to burn down Bray Wyatt's house, reclaim his spot, his title shot against him at Mania. And then after Orton burned down Wyatt's house, Wyatt went to dig into the dirt, said, "I got satanic powers now. You got no chance." And how do those satanic powers manifest themselves? Projections of bugs on the ring.
I got people in the production truck, man. They got powers too. They click on the picture, little icon right there.
So bad.
They can do. Yeah,
it was lousy.
I really do wish they would have just done the House of Horrors match at Mania. Like, just show the big screen. Who cares? Because I actually really enjoyed the House of Horrors. I know plenty of people did not, and that
It was
might
better
be
than this.
Yeah, it was. It was.
And like if it wasn't bad enough, they did these silly projections of bugs on the ring. The match was a stinker.
Yeah, the match
It was
itself
a
wasn't very good.
stinker
They
match.
during the producing in this match, the booking in this match, they evidently relied way too heavily on the beats of the projections to carry the match, and it just went over like a fart. It went over like a wet fart. And yeah, just a big stinker turd of a match.
It was terrible.
And of course,
People were laughing.
yeah, they were. We were.
Yeah.
And of course, it concluded with the one image that months prior we had predicted would be the worst case scenario: boring face Randy Orton standing tall. And I still think that that there was a lot to be. There was a lot of interesting. If you take the entirety of this feud, there was a lot of interesting stuff going on, and there was a lot of potential.
Oh yeah.
However, they really misfired on the most important elements.
Yes.
So
Should have had Luke Harper in the match. The match should have been for power of the Wyatt family, or control of the Wyatt family. That's what the match should have been about.
That's absolutely true. There should have been more beats between Randy Orton being on the same page with Bray Wyatt and then Randy Orton burning down Bray Wyatt's house.
Mm-hmm.
They never explained any of that.
Other than I got you when you were weak,
Yeah.
when you weren't expecting it,
Yeah.
and now I'm burning down your house.
It was pretty
Randy
silly.
said, "You gave me the keys." That was all he said. So I guess at a
Trust
certain point,
me.
when you were entrusted by Bray Wyatt to such a degree, he will give you keys to your house, to his house. Sorry.
Well, he doesn't have a house anymore unless he had any homeowners insurance.
Hopefully he did.
I would assume he did.
Otherwise, he had to start from scratch.
I
all by
gotta
himself.
call State Farm, man. Anyways.
Next, number four.
Number four. Santina.
Oh gosh! So they had a Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal at WrestleMania 25.
So again, we're still in the era of them just dicking around with that women's division.
Yeah. Oh yes.
And yeah, they had what was this called? The
Miss WrestleMania Battle
Miss
Royal.
WrestleMania Battle Royal. So not only was it now number one, I love battle royals.
Same.
I think they're great, but to equate using the Miss WrestleMania title. To equate the women's division with a beauty pageant in the first place is undermining the idea of a women's division in wrestling in the first place. But then they had Santino Marella, who was actually a really fantastic comedy wrestler.
Yeah, he could be pretty funny.
They had him win it wearing in drag. So
Here's some other competitors in this
Yeah.
Battle Royal. You got Alicia Fox, Brie Mode, Brie Bella, Eve Torres, Gail Kim, Jackie Gaeta, Jillian Hall, Joy Giovanni, Katie Lee Burchill, Kelly Kelly, Layla, Maria, Maurice, Melina, Michelle McCool, Mickey James, Molly Holly, Natalia, Nikki Bella, Rosa Mendez, Sunny, Tiffany, Tori Wilson, and Victoria.
There were some really good competitors in that. They actually had like a pretty decent roster for a solid like women's division at the time. And this was the lone women's match on the card out of 9 matches, including a dark match.
Yeah, no women's title match or Divas title match.
Yeah,
was around at the time.
So, and it was all just to compete for something called Miss WrestleMania.
And then Santino won.
Yeah. So just a giant mockery of an entire division.
Yep.
But that's sort of, you know.
That's how Vince, I guess, viewed things at the time. It's a bummer.
Anyways.
Bummer.
Moving on. Number 3.
3.
Brock versus Goldberg.
What a crap match.
Well, I mean, the crazy thing is this should be and as we've seen, it was when done properly. This is one of the few instances where we get something that was done as bad as it could possibly be.
In the worst possible circumstances, basically.
And also, years later, a decade later, or 15 years later, as best as it could possibly, because that last Goldberg run, his last feud with Brock, was actually really well done.
It was pretty fun. Their main match just booked totally to their strengths. It wasn't long. It was short. It was all high-impact moves. It was like a 4-minute match, but it was a fun 4-minute match. This seemingly went on forever.
Well, what's the backstory here, though?
Backstory. So Goldberg had signed about a year prior wasn't happy being with the WWE. His contract that was set to expire after Mania, didn't want to re-sign. Lesnar had just lost the belt to Eddie at No Way Out thanks to Goldberg's interference, setting up a match between the two of them. Actually, it dated all the way back to the Rumble, building this feud. Apparently, 5 days before WrestleMania 20, Brock went to the SmackDown locker room and said, "I'm done. I'm leaving. I'm going to go try to play football for the Vikings."
He had an offer on the table from the WWE.
7 years, $10 million, something like that. Right. Apparently, he just didn't want to live the pro wrestling lifestyle anymore.
He didn't like flying.
Yeah, he didn't like traveling.
He didn't like traveling.
Well, apparently in one
I don't blame him.
No, I don't either. I wouldn't want to do all that traveling either. This is from something called False Start. Said that at one point, apparently he bought himself a private jet to fly from show to show.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if that's okay. Because I wonder if that is like, I don't know what the turbulence is. The turbulent situation on a private jet versus like a 747 or 737.
I think private jets fly at a higher altitude.
Oh,
I think.
Okay.
So I don't know if that makes it better or worse.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it all depends on weather.
I would think like a smaller jet would mean more turbulence, but I have no idea.
I don't know if that's the case.
It's all terrifying.
But apparently according to the same thing, Lesnar said during a radio interview, "Neither of us wanted to be there," and this is Brock's words. "I didn't give a shit."
Yeah, that sounds like Brock.
And it's telling.
Definitely sounds like something Brock would say.
Apparently Goldberg didn't want to be there either. He was just unhappy, and the same thing they mentioned when they repackaged Jamal as a superhero in training.
Oh yeah.
And so they had the acronym of that across the chest. Mm-hmm. Said shit.
Yeah. Goldberg also has a quote echoing the same thing. "The reality is that it could have been one of the biggest matches in history if done properly, but nobody cared since they didn't care. When I looked across the ring, he didn't care." And everybody knew. That's the thing. It was apparently like all that had leaked out that Brock was leaving and Goldberg wasn't renewing his contract. And the crowd, it's funny because it was one of those things where when you watch the match, it's kind of obvious that Brock and Goldberg don't care. The crowd, they don't care. And because nobody cared, everybody just took out that apathy on each other. Like the crowd just started crapping on the match. Brock and Goldberg just had like it was like all rest holds, and there was nothing to it. It was absolutely nothing. It was like maybe a 10-minute match.
Yeah,
and that went too
short.
long.
Yeah,
that even went too long. The only saving grace was the fact that we got stunners for everybody at the very end.
Yep.
From Stone Cold, the guest ref.
So I guess originally Brock was to win that match. I think at the last minute, and they changed it to Goldberg winning.
Yeah. It is kind of interesting. I mean, they were both
13, almost 14 minutes.
Oh, wow. It was way too long. I mean, the interesting thing is when you go back, because one thing we did, we went back and watched the video package they put together for it. And, of course, Brock wasn't with Heyman at the time. He was doing all of his own promos. Mm-hmm. And he was very charismatic. He was doing a lot of really fun, interesting stuff. He got on his knees and begged the gods for Vince McMahon to give him a match against Goldberg. Mm-hmm. He was saying, "Oh, that title meant everything to me." Goldberg, of course, was still very imposing. I mean, he was never good in the ring, but he was very imposing. They both seemed like big money guys.
Yeah.
But neither of them were interested in continuing on with WWE at the time.
Nope.
And it totally translated. It's like, you look at it, it's just weird, man, these guys. And then, of course, we see, a couple of years ago, just how money it could be. Mm-hmm. And they were still able to do it, even though, both of them are much older at the time.
Yep.
So, interesting stuff. Here we go. Number 2. Triple H beats Booker T.
WrestleMania 19.
So, this is deep, deep into the Reign of Terror, I believe.
2003.
2003. That sounds about right. Maybe it was sort of kicking off the Reign of Terror. I don't know officially what the Reign of Terror. Are we still in the Reign of Terror?
No, I think the Reign of Terror is when he first won the title as a heel, all the way to when he cut his hair.
Okay. All right. Well, that spans a couple decades then, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's a long time.
All right. Fair enough. Anyways, this is, I guess you could call this prime Reign of Terror anyways, in terms of how this was going down.
Yes, absolutely. That cannot be disputed.
Yeah. So anyways.
And also what cannot be disputed is that Booker T should have totally won this match.
Yeah, so number one, this was a story that okay, so starts 2002, and it continues on. Where are we now? There's Evolution.
2004.
Okay, good. Yeah. Boy, that's a very extensive essay you're looking up here on. Oh, amino apps. Nice. 2000. It's longer than that.
So 2005.
I guess him just putting over Batista and stuff.
I guess that could be one.
Reign of Terror.
I kind of feel like that's just Act 1.
So yeah, this was Triple H and Booker T getting into a storyline where essentially, it wasn't too subtle. There was a bit of racism involved because Triple H literally said, I believe the phrase, "People like you don't win the championship. Don't beat people like me." Something along those lines. As soon as you go there, as soon as you mutter that phrase, the guy who mutters it, he's got to lose. He has to lose. You have to lose.
He has to lose.
You got to lose. And
this is a situation where, and I speak about this a lot because the more I think about it, the more it happens. It's getting heat for heat's sake. It's the idea that like they think it's like the example of Brock beating Taker at Mania, getting Taker streak. So whoever beats Brock is a huge thing. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
Triple H during his Reign of Terror, being this devious evil heel, and either eking out victory or beating people, and the heat that comes with it. I don't think those are the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
With Taker's got mystique.
Yeah.
So if you beat Taker, especially at Mania, that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
But like Triple H as a bad guy with his sledgehammer, building up the heat so whoever actually ends up beating him, making that seem like that guy's made, I don't think it's comparable.
Yeah, I don't think it is either.
That being said, if Booker T had beat Triple H at Mania 19, that would have been a pretty huge deal.
It would have been a pretty big deal, yeah.
But then the way the story was told,
yeah,
to have Booker T not win, is terrible.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
It's pretty much garbage.
And it's all just to get more heat on Triple H as a heel.
Yeah.
And then who eventually took the title off him? Let me check.
Batista, right? Or did they do more between them?
That was for the World Heavyweight Championship. Sorry.
So Batista took it off him at 21. What was it? Wait, which one was this?
19.
One? Oh, this was 19. I don't know. I don't think he had it. As long as
I'm gonna check
all that.
What did I say? 19. So I've been 2003. So you got it in this.
Goldberg,
so Benoit got it for him from the following Mania.
Okay.
Wait, no. Sorry, no. Goldberg beat him for it.
Okay.
September of 2003.
All right.
And then Triple H got back in December, and then Benoit beat him for him.
So he had it in December, and he didn't lose it until December until September.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got it right back in December of 2003. So, yeah. I mean, it'd be one thing if he kept it all the way until Batista,
because he's trading the belt a bunch here. So he was given the belt in 2002. About 2 months later, he loses it to HBK. A month later, he picks it back up. About 10 months later, he drops it to Goldberg. 3 months later, he gets it back. About 4 months later, he drops it to Benoit. Benoit drops it to Orton. And then Triple H gets it right back.
Yeah.
So it's not like he was on a massive winning streak.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you. It's almost kind of surprising they dropped it to Benoit in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it kind of is.
Mm-hmm.
But
the fact that Booker T didn't beat him for it is
yeah, doggy doo doo.
It is.
Let's move on here. Number one. The WrestleMania 9 main event. I feel like we've talked about this a lot.
Well, we
lately.
just did a going in raw view on
That's
it. That's
right.
why.
That's right. So, yeah, let's just set this up again because it's possible not everybody always listens to all of our stuff. Here's the deal. We were entering a new generation in the WWF.
Correct.
Names like Bret Hart, Yokozuna, Diesel, Shawn Michaels,
yeah.
They were all being pushed, and the old guard was there. They were getting rid of them, moving on to other things.
Yeah, Hogan was taking a leave of absence following all the steroid stuff.
Yeah.
Savage, depending on who's telling the truth, with either being pushed towards commentary or wanting to do commentary. It definitely seemed like a changing of the guard.
Yeah.
And they were focused and dedicated to pushing the young talent and saying goodbye to the Rock and Wrestling era.
But it didn't come without a little bit of what do you call that when you're at the altar? And
Cold feet.
Cold feet. Vince McMahon wasn't quite ready to pull the trigger.
Not
all
completely,
the way. No. There is still that twinge of nostalgia, maybe.
Yeah.
See if you can squeeze a little bit more juice out of that Hogan thing.
It was weird because Pritchard put in the podcast something to wrestle with about WrestleMania 9. It made it seem like, well, we'll just give Hogan one last run as kind of a thanks. It's kind of felt.
Yeah.
We'll make some money.
Yeah.
And that'll be that.
Yeah.
And then he'll be done. He's going to go off and do whatever, retire,
to
whatever.
his credit, Pritchard tries his best to try to figure out. I don't even think he knows fully.
Oh, I think he knows. I think it was Vince's whim. That was ultimately the why.
Yeah, exactly. But trying to explain
because there was that back and forth about why they did it, about the added value of the European tour that Hogan wasn't even on after Mania. And by the time he was on a European tour, is after he dropped the belt back to Yokozuna. Yeah. And it's a hilarious bit because Conrad loses his shit.
Yeah.
Trying to get a straight answer from Bruce. In the end, Bruce says, "I don't know. That's what Vince wanted."
Yeah. So what we're talking about exactly, in case you haven't watched any of that other stuff we're talking about, is the original main event for WrestleMania 9 was Bret Hart, the champion, versus Yokozuna, the evil giant sumo wrestler-esque challenger
who had just won the Royal Rumble, the previous Royal Rumble. Sorry.
Right, exactly, by eliminating Macho Man.
Yep.
And so WrestleMania. So as the story goes, Bret gets into town, and Vince calls him in his office and says, "Hey, here's the deal. Yoko's gonna beat you by throwing some sand in your eyes, salt in your eyes, sorry, and then to right the wrong of you getting cheated out of your title, Hogan's gonna come down and he's going to be goaded into an impromptu match by Yokozuna's who's it, Mr. Fuji." And then Hogan's gonna win that in like seconds, in moments.
Yes.
Big boot leg drop. That's it.
That was clothesline leg
drop. That's it. And then Bret was like, "What? I'm sorry. What?
Be a character assassination, Vince.
Be a character assassination, Vince." And so, and that's how it went down. And they just sort of tossed that title back onto Hogan.
For a matter of 3 months.
Prior to that, Hogan had been running down Bret Hart in the press. Like when people ask him, "Hey, what do you think?" "Oh yeah, that guy can't lace my boots."
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And then, of course, the following June, like just months later, at King of the Ring, one of the lowest attended pay-per-views to that point, I think maybe the lowest to that point, Hogan dropped the title to Yokozuna and was permanently on his way. Well, not permanently.
Until 2002, whatever.
Until 2002, yeah.
But he lost title via exploding flashbulb.
Yeah. But instead of, cementing that WrestleMania moment, even if it was putting that title on Yokozuna, because Yokozuna had it for like a year after that, right? He didn't lose it again until that following Mania where Bret
so it was almost a year,
Yeah. They did a wishy-washy Hogan's got it back thing. So, and it was sort of just, it was just there to make a moment.
Yeah.
And
shock people.
And long-term consequences be damned.
Yeah,
history
pretty much.
Be damned.
I know, pretty much.
So that's probably worst moment in WrestleMania history.
It's pretty bad.
I mean, I guess we could have gone with another WrestleMania 9 moment, Giant Gonzalez versus Undertaker.
Well, if this was worst matches in WrestleMania history, that would probably be number one.
Okay, well maybe we'll do that one.
Oh, we should do that one. It'd be fun.
That'd be fun.
Although a lot of things on here would be on that too, like Goldberg Lesnar would be on that list.
That'd be on that list.
And then we could talk about the blindfold
Triple
match.
H Warrior might be on there. I don't know, man. That blindfold match was fun.
It's pretty entertaining. Yeah, no.
It was more than I remember. I thought I remember it being really boring. It's actually really entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, Giant Gonzalez, it's pretty shocking. A giant naked guy with just massive amounts of bush. That is really, I'm still having a hard time wrapping my head around that. Giant, muscular dude, thickest bush.
Well, no, all the muscles are painted on. Not real muscles.
What?
That was a suit. He's wearing a bodysuit.
No, man, he was naked.
Pay attention. It's airbrushed on. It wasn't real hair.
I think they messed up my LASIK. I can't see properly.
Explains a lot. Anyways,
I really want to get one of those suits. I think they're great.
You better go get your eyes checked, man.
Those are awesome. Who are you? Can't see. They really should have had practical hair on that.
I agree.
I think that would have made it much more.
I think it made a lot. Oh, maybe somewhat effective.
Oh my God, child, cover your eyes. You might see a mushroom tip. Anyways, That's it for now. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. Till next time, we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Be a part of Going In Raw today at patreon.com/Steven Larson. Starting at $1 a month, you can enjoy Going In Raw ad-free, gain access to the daily 30-minute Going In Raw post-show, exclusive merchandise, and so much more. Support Going In Raw today. Click the link in the description.